Today's shir was inspired by Yehuda Lev. He asked me whether it's okay to go tour a church. Is touring a church kosher? But before that, Rav Chanoch asked me a question about why the Torah tells me about all the sufferings that Yaakov and his family went through. And is it a coincidence that the pashas that we read about Yaakov and his family suffering always comes out around Hanukkah time? There's a pasuk by the menorah in Pashas Tetzaveh. Hashem says, light the menorah, and it says, cut it lamor. You have to beat and crush the olives in order to give oil, to give light. Cut it lamor, that's what it says. Crush, beat, and pound the olives in order to God to give the precious light. Is the poor olive being punished? So, we all are supposed to shine on, but only after we are what? Pounded, beaten, and crushed, like the Shem and Zayit. Hashem squeezes us like we do an olive oil in order to what? We all shine on. Yiddish Sarah. Yep. It's not the punishment. Cut it lamor. Before you can shine, first you got to crush and squeeze the olive oil. Shem squeezes us and pounds us in order that we should shine. And therefore, these Hanukkah, we read the Parsha of Yaakov Avinu and all the tzoros and the deception that he had to go through and all the pain and the anguish and the aggravation on Hanukkah time, because this is all part of God's game plan. In order for us to shine, only when the going gets tough, do the tough go shopping. No. When the going gets tough, do the tough get going. So all of the tzoros that we go through in life, that's not a punishment. Hashem is squeezing us to make us shine. We all shine on. That's the way it is. Why does it to be like that? The same reason that Isaac Newton asked, he's sitting under an apple tree, and an apple hit him on the head. So he asked, why does the apple fall down? Not up. Not a joke. He asked that question. We say it's a klutz kasha, but that's how he discovered gravity, right?
He was into Judaism.
Yeah. That's the laws of gravity. In order, kated lamor, 2 words in Pashat Tetzaveh, Hashem says, in order to shine, first you got to be squeezed. How do you say in Yiddish? Quetscht? Ausgequetscht. Beaten and pounded in order to shine. That's what you learn from Yaakov's family. And therefore, these parshas are always read around Hanukkah time. Next Sunday is Erev Hanukkah. We'll talk more about Hanukkah then. We'll speak about how Yehudit was actually the heroine of Hanukkah. She doesn't get enough credit, in my humble opinion. But we'll show next Sunday how Yehudit is actually the Esther of Hanukkah. You hear this, Avram? Next Sunday we'll see how Yehudit was actually the Esther of Hanukkah. But today, thanks to Yehuda, we have a shir on is it kosher to tour a church? You're going on a tour and the guide wants to take you into the church. Is that kosher? We'll talk about that. But before we get to that, is it halachically okay to go into a church as a tourist? But before we get to that, are you allowed to go into a church? I mean a mosque. So according to Rabbi Yosef, not only are you allowed to go into a mosque, but you're permitted even to daven in a mosque. Who said that? The great Rabbi Yosef said, not only are you allowed to go into a mosque, you're also allowed to daven in a mosque. And the proof is, when you go to the Morat HaMachpelah, where are you davening? In a mosque. The Morat HaMachpelah, you're davening in a mosque.
Well, the Muslims are davening in a Beit Knesset.
That's what I remember. In 1994, before Baruch Goldstein, we were davening mincha in the Morat HaMachpelah. This happened, we were davening mincha, not 12 feet away. They were davening, our cousins. They were davening to the same God, 12 feet away. This is before Baruch Goldstein. Now they won't allow that. But we were davening mincha, and our peace partners, our cousins, were having a service because we prayed to the same God. So it's not a problem. But entering a church, that is a separate issue altogether. If you take a look at your source sheets, are you allowed to go into a church So a mosque is not a problem. You even allowed to daven in a mosque, said Rabbi Yosef, and Rabbi Yitzchak Elchanan also said it's okay to daven in a mosque, as we do in the Me'arat HaMachpelah, which is a mosque. But what about going into a church? This is a true story from Sefer Hasidim, source number 2. This is in the Middle Ages. This one priest owed a Jew money. You have a paper? The Yoda HaKomer, source number 2, side number 1, source number 2. The Yoda HaKomer, and the priest knew that what? That the Jew is not going to follow the priest into the church in order to collect his debt, right? So whenever the Jew would go to the priest to collect the overdue debt, what would the priest do? The priest would run to the church. And the Jew was not willing to what? To go in. So how's he going to get his money, right? No money, no honey. So he went to ask a Shaila. And what was he told? That you're not allowed to go in there, but if you go in there, you have to fast for tshuva. So even to collect the debt, you're not allowed to go in. Even to collect the debt, you're not allowed to go in. You cannot go into a church. You're not allowed to go into a church. Now, the greatest poskim of the 20th century, Yavam, who are the greatest poskim of the 20th century? The Tzitz Eliezer, by Waldenberg, the Ashkenazi posik, the Igrit Moshe, the Yeridea 129, the two greatest Ashkenazim poskim, and the Sfardi, the great posik, Rabbi Yosef, all say it's totally prohibited to enter a church, even if one does not, if the church doesn't even have any statues or icons.
Really?
That's what they say. Again, the three greatest poskim Yehuda of the 20th century, the Tzitz Eliezer, Ashkenazi posket, Rav Wallenberg, Rav Moshe, Igrat Moshe, Yeridea, and the greatest Fardi posik 20th century, Rabbi Yosef, all say it's usher to enter a church, even if the church does not have statues or icons, because they all say you cannot enter a church without having the church enter you. Should I repeat that? There's no way a Jew can go into a church, just even for a tour, without having part of the tumah of the church enter you. So therefore it's totally forbidden. Yebi Omer Chelik Bet, Rabbi Yosef, Motzosi Lagoin Mechayim Palaji. Big Chayes B'Tshuvah Schad B'Yad, Shenishal B'Nidon, Ma She'osu Eza Noshem Yisrael. What do you do about certain Jewish people? Have a Judah, source 7, Shaholchu Bayom Idam Shalagoyim, B'Yachatim HaConsul. They go on the day, he's talking about in the Vatican, they go with the council of the Vatican, L'Beis Avodah Zarah Shalhem, K'dei Lavois, in order to escort him into the church. V'nechlus L'Toch Beis Tfilatam. It's a play on the word tefillah. Tifal means impurities. Im yesh isur bedavar. Is it prohibited just to escort the council general into the Vatican? And this great Chaim Balaji says that even that is asur. Ulam amad barchat Chaim. But other poskim want to say hanechlas abeis avodah zarah oima ashrei sheishalom lechem gemulchem shema tzakatam oima zvech lim yechram. Yotza mimeno, Omer, Asher, yeah, others want to say, if you're just going in to take a peek, they say that what? It's mutar.
Okay.
He doesn't agree, but other poskim say it's mutar to take a peek. You see that he's going to slug them up. The tzorech leimer, the ma'arik shenechlas ba'onis b'shukuach nefesh. So he says, well, this other postka said it's mutar, that's only if it's what, Avram, how do you say be'onis? He was forced under pressure, b'shemekuach nefesh, because if the Jew doesn't go in there, there might be what? Pogroms. Here. V'hine yesh k'tzas mikol divrei Chaim Yishalmi, oivel lefnei beit avodah zarah, rei asam, yeah. Loshen genai. And he says, so he says that even if those poskim say it's mutar, it's only if you're under terrible pressure, and if you don't go in, it might spark a pogrom. You hear what he's saying over here? So anyway, he says if you're not under pressure, and it's not the kuach nefesh, it's also to enter a church, because again, there's no way you can enter a church without having some of the church enter the person. And he begins to admire, and he begins to question and to think, Then he goes on in source number 8. You see that Yehuda source number 8 on side 2? Emet Shariti V'Shavshuv Karach Shal Romi Shehayat Arav Mufla. He quotes this Kohen Shoya Holchim Lekenias Anotzrim Machoira Pagid B'Mei Chagam. You hear this? He quotes the source that precedes him of a certain rabbi that would enter the church in Rome. You hear this? And he would hide b'achorei hapargid. What does that mean? He'd hide behind Sonia a curtain. L'slamed mehem mishkal hamuzika shayomin aroyim. You hear this? This rabbi would sneak into the Vatican and listen to their music in order he should what? Know how to use those tunes for Yomim Noroyim. You hear this? The beautiful tunes that they use in the church service, a certain rabbi would hide behind a curtain. He would memorize the tunes. He'd be able to use that for the high holy days. Is that okay?
No.
What?
No. Why not?
But the Hasidim tell about the Baal Shem Tov that he used to stand outside of Kelly's Bar and Grill. Sarah, why would the Baal Shem Tov stand outside Kelly's Bar and Grill? He says when the peasants would get shikar, they would sing beautiful tunes. And the Baal Shem Tov would memorize those tunes, and he would use it for Kabbalah Shabbos. You hear? So you're taking Tumah and you what? And you're elevating it to Kedusha. But he wouldn't go into the bar. He would stand outside. Right?
All right.
So is that okay? Right?
Yep.
He says it's a dover pele that this rabbi did that. It's a dover pele. How do you say that? It's a shocking matter in source number 8 that the rabbi would do that. U'maiser rav kazeh siya godol mashkosev la'el v'ina dover kosher loimer. He said it's very difficult. Rabbi Yosef said it's very difficult to say shoya mutar lishmoya calls mira shirotam avodah zarah. It's very difficult to permit to listen to the song when they're singing for the avodah zarah. It's very difficult to allow that to hear that. And yet this rabbi did it. But he had good intentions. They say the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? He said it's also gomer to go into a church, even if you just want to hear the music, in order for recycle it for Yomim Noroyim. You're not allowed to do that. If you look at source number 5, side number 2, source number 5, you back up a little bit. You have it up on source number 5. The Shulchan Aruch Yeredeya, Osir lishmoa klei shir savodas kachavim. It is forbidden to hear music that they play or sing for avodah zarah. Or l'stakel benoi, or you're not allowed to look at the beauty of an avodah zarah because you have hana. So Shulchan Aruch says clearly that it's strictly forbidden to listen to music, singing or music that they sing for avodah zarah, like a church service, and you're also not allowed to stare at an avodah zarah because you're having pleasure from it and it's forbidden. Yet this one rabbi in source number 8, Rabbi Yosef says that he did it, but Rabbi Yosef said that it is asur, back in source number 8. He said, Nira she'ein lamdu l'achla pe'maisa, ve'zum dakara. He said, I don't know how this rabbi, he went against all the shas and all the poskim, who clearly say that you're not allowed to go into a church. B'shem oif, you're not allowed to go in. Ki be'emes hadover she'ezer rabbanim holchu lebeit tefilosam eile gar lehem zeh and they shlai einai heite bedover. There's certain rabbis that do go in, they didn't understand the matter. V'choshvu she'ef shel hatte b'zeh darkei shalom. Certain rabbis who went in there said that we have no choice to go in because of darkei shalom. How do you say that in English? Darkei shalom.
Paths of peace.
Paths of peace.
Please your neighbor.
Yeah, but you know that the Pope John shouldn't be upset with you, what? Or shehiv pa'alem lachatz, or they had tremendous pressure placed on them. Va'anusim hoyel, and perhaps these rabbis felt that they're an oinus. How do you say oinus in English? Forced to do it. But he says that going into a church to please the goyim is actually a chil Hashem. Asher rabbanim b'Yisrael yichnasu l'mkoymes eile. He says rabbis go in there dressed in their what? In their rabbinical clothing, and it's a chil Hashem. Ki ma lekohen b'veis hakvoros. What does a kohen have to do in a cemetery? What does that mean? He calls the church a cemetery. Stay away. A Kohen, a rabbi is supposed to be a Kohen. What's he doing in a cemetery? Kimal Kohen in Bet HaKvorot. So the Holchoyev, Heshi Zavada She'osel Isher Gomer. It is a 100% total prohibition to enter a church. And certainly, he says, Befrat, when they gather there for their service, like midnight mass, and even if you don't go, it'll cause hatred. You're not allowed to permit, because this is dangerously close to what? Even though you're not worshiping the Avodah Zarah, but just being there, you're a part of it. He says that is a terrible chil Hashem. V'oy l'dor shekach also v'yamav, and woe to that generation that allows their rabbis or the rabbis themselves to go in there. It is a strict prohibition to enter a church. B'vadei shetrichem kapara gedola. The rabbi or anybody who goes in there needs a big kapara and yeshuva b'tshuva, and they should what? Do tshuva v'nislach lahem. Maybe they don't know any better. But the punchline, I know you like the punchline. Source number 9. Source number 9, the punchline. Get out of it. Source number 9, the punchline. You have it up, Chanoch? Zois Torah Sa'olah. This is the final law. Sha'asur. Leches, it is also to enter their churches. Afilim hoyo b'zeh and they darkei shalom. And even if what? It's for the ways of peace. You're trying to please them. You're trying to suck up to them. That their worship has any credence. It's a chil Hashem, and it's strictly forbidden for a Jewish person to enter a church, even on a tour. Okay, so the 3 greatest poskim of the 20th century, Yehuda, it's the Rav Wallenberg, it's the Rav Moshe Feinstein, and those 2 Ashkenazim, and the Sfaradi Rabbi Yosef, Baruch Hashem, all 3 agree that it's also to enter a church, even the church does not have any statues or other icons. What about a person's an architect? You don't have the tshuva, but I have it in front of me. The Igros Moshe in Yeridea in the early 1960s was asked, Sarah, an architect, is he allowed to take a job to draw up plans for a church?
Better not.
Okay? A contract. He says, I'll read it to you, you don't have it on your paper. The Inyan Sirtut al Niyar. Are you allowed to draw up plans, architectural plans, on paper to get a job that they'll develop it into what? Into a church. Is it mutar? The tshuva was dated Tovshin Yud Zayin. I'm not good in math, Sarah. 57-17. How many years ago was that? 57-17.
62.
62. So this contractor, this architect, asked him, allowed to do that? So he answers is what? Are you allowed? He goes through back and forth. He says, Lifi ani azdaiti, according to my opinion, ledina it's mutar. It's mutar to draw up architectural plans for a church. Even if there's no chash of Eva. Even if there won't be any backlash. Why? Because he quotes Rashi. He quotes Rashi in Masechta Avodah Zarah that even to build a church is mutar. Yiddish? Why? Why is it mutar for a Jew to build a church? Shemuta livnois tashmi. So he goes in back and forth. They don't actually worship the church, do they? They don't worship the bricks of the church. So therefore, he quotes Rashi Shita Masechta Avodah Zarah and the Tur in Yeridea that a Jew, if he needs pranasa, could build a church because the church tashmin shel Avodah Zarah. It's not actually worshiping Avodah Zarah. It's only housing the Avodah Zarah. They don't bow down to the building, right? So therefore, if a Jew needs parnasa, he says, it's mutter livnois. Not only can you draw up the architectural plans, but you're even allowed to build the building. Because the building itself is only a tashmish l'avodah zarah. How do you say that in English? A tashmish. A use, but it's not the avodah zarah itself. But rak ha-kippah. Shemin olav il atzmai also. What is also? The kippah. What's the kippah? The altar. The altar in the church where they put the statue, or the statue itself, that you're not allowed to build. And that you can't draw up plans. Because that's avodah zarah mamash. But the building itself, Rabbi Moshe Feinstein Zatzal says, not only allowed to draw up the plans, but you even mutar to build the building. Just the altar where they put the statues, that is asur. And he quotes the Ran, that you're allowed to build a building, but not the altar. Okay? And certainly you're allowed to build a building, he says, if you need parnasa. And he says, if you can build a building, you certainly grow up what? The architectural plans to build a building. So he says, Mitzad hadin it's mutar. Mitzad hadin it's mutar. But it's good if you can't get another job. He says, if you're an ani, you're poor, and you need the parnasa, you don't have to be machmir. You can build a building. If you're a contractor, you can actually build a building of a church or draw out the plans. You don't have to be machmir because mitzad hadin it's mutar to do that. And especially if you need the money, he says, because you're not doing anything for avodah zarah. It's only a tashmish of avodah zarah. Okay?
How about the cleaning company wants to get the job of contracting to clean the church?
So according to this, they can clean the church, but not the getchkis themselves, or the kippah. According to this, right? So Schwartz's cleaning company can clean the church, but not the getchkis, and not the altar.
Because workers that are not Jewish, he doesn't.
But he cannot have hanor from avodah zarah, right? Yeah.
The church gets their money from. The church gets their money from Avodah Zarah. So how can it not be getting money from Avodah Zarah when he has the cleaning contract?
Yeah. Right. But listen, Rav Moshe Feinstein Zatzal was not PC because he has a lasoi sirtut laofen binyan reformim, the conservativim, templing. Whether you're allowed to draw plans or build a reform shul or conservativim, he says lekashim yisur. You can build a reform shul. You can't daven there, but you're allowed to build one, he says. Vein tzorach lahachmir, a reform shul. It's amazing. I heard this on Rav Soloveitchik on tape, otherwise I wouldn't repeat it of him. Rav Soloveitchik said this on a tape. He said that this is in the 1950s. He had a student that lived out in the middle of nowhere in Massachusetts. You hear this, Avram? And the nearest shul that he has was a conservative shul. And he knows you're not allowed to daven in a conservative shul. He knows that. But he asked Rav Soloveitchik whether he's permitted to go into the conservative shul just to hear shofar. He said, I'm not going to daven. I'll daven home. I just want to hear shofar. Shofars are the right? It's a mitzvah and Torah to hear shofar. So he says, I know, Rabbi, that you cannot daven in a conservative shul. But what about if you just let me go in just to hear the shofar and I'll daven home? So what did Rav Soloveitchik answer?
No.
No? Can you imagine? Soloveitchik said you're not allowed to even go into conservative shul to hear shofar. Better don't hear shofar. It's a mitzvah in the Torah to hear shofar.
Right.
He says to go into a conservative shul is a chilul Hashem, he said. This is Rav Soloveitchik. He's supposed to be the modern Orthodox. But he said that not only a Reform shul, but even a conservative shul, you're not allowed to go in there when they're holding services. Even just to hear shofar, he says it's a chilul Hashem.
What if you heard shofar from the outside?
Oh, outside he could stay, right? But he's not allowed to go in there. This is Rav Soloveitchik, and I heard this on a tape. I have the tape. And this is what he paskined. You're not allowed to.
What did Rav Soloveitchik say about drawing up architectural plans for a reform shul?
I don't think he talked about it, but the Rav Moshe says it's okay. I have the tshuva here. You're allowed to draw up architectural plans for a reform shul and conservative shul. He says, "Lekosh, you want? I can make a copy of you. Lekoshim Yisur. You're not allowed to daven there, but it's okay. If you need parnasa to draw up the plans or to build a building," he says, that's okay. He says the same thing about a church. Because the church, they don't worship the building, right? You just cannot, you just can't, the statues you can't build. And,
So if the person does not,
what?
say the person is very wealthy, has a very wealthy company,
Right.
he should refuse to build them, because he doesn't need the parnasa from them.
So Rav Moshe says if you need the parnasa, you're allowed to do it. Right? If you don't need parnasa, get yourself another job. Build a discotheque. Right? But if you need the parnasa, he says that it's permitted. That is permitted. So the Rambam says in Hilchas Macholos Hasoros, he says Kol Goy she'eino oved avodah zara kegana Yishmaelim. The Rambam says any non-Jew that doesn't worship idolatry like the Yishmaelim, who are the Yishmaelim? The Muslims. Yeinam osa b'shtia muta bahana. So you're not allowed to drink their wine, but you're allowed to have a no from their wine. That means if you have a Muslim waiter, he can handle the wine, right? Avol hanotzrim, he says the notzrim of the avodah zara v'stam yeinam osa bahana. But a notzri that handles the wine becomes what? Forbidden, because they are considered idol worshippers. They're considered idol worshippers, but not the Yishmaelim. It's amazing that the Yishmaelim, strange of them, they hate us so much. We worship the same God. We even call them by the same name.
No.
Yes, who said no?
Allah.
Allah is El. Masha, don't mix me up. Allah is the same word as El. The Rambam in Moreh Nevuchim writes, you're sitting down, Avram, fastening seatbelts. Allah Akbar. You're not allowed to say that in the bathroom, he says. Wow. Allah Akbar. You cannot say that in a Beis HaMerchatz or in the toilet. No. Because Allah Akbar means what? Ha'el HaGodol HaGiba VaHaNorah. That's what it means. The Rambam was asked, well, Yehareg Vayavor, if they force you to worship J.C. Penney on pain of death, what's the halacha? Yehareg Vayavor. You have to let yourself be killed. Then he was asked, they ask you to become a Muslim or they'll kill you. What did he say? What?
A person can go through
He says that you have to live, because it's not avodah zarah. It's heresy, but it's not avodah zarah. And the Rambam ruled that the Geret Teman, the Jews of Yemen, wrote him a letter. They were forced to become Muslims, whether they have to give their lives or not. So he wrote them back. That Islam is not avodah zarah, even though it's heresy for us, but it's not one of the 3 cardinal sins that you have to die for. And therefore the Rambam ruled that the Yemenite Jews should not let themselves be killed. They should live and make believe they're Muslims, because they're doing it on the oinus. And just like if your life is in danger, you're allowed to eat on Yom Kippur. If your life is in danger, you're allowed to eat pig. If your life is in danger, you're allowed to make believe you're a Muslim. Because it's not avodah zarah, it's only heresy. But there are 3 exceptions. Avodah zarah, gili arayot, v'shvichas damim. To worship idolatry, which Rambam says Islam is not, but Christianity is. or to commit murder, or to commit sexual immorality, for those 3 sins, a person has to what? Give his life. Because those 3 sins, if you commit, life would not be worth living. But the rest of the Torah, if your life is in danger, you have to transgress. You have to transgress. There's a famous tshuva of Rabbi Yosef, that this person was critically ill, and the doctor said that he has to eat on Yom Kippur to stay alive, right? He refused to eat. He said, I never ate on Yom Kippur, I'm not going to start now. What happened? He ate. He didn't eat, then he what?
He died.
Rabbi Yosef said, you're not allowed to say Kaddish for him. The guy is a murderer. Who did he kill?
Himself.
Killed himself. Suicide. Just like there's a mitzvah to fast on Yom Kippur, there's a bigger mitzvah to eat on Yom Kippur when?
To stay alive.
Staying alive. Staying alive. You hear what I said? Just like there's a mitzvah to fast Yom Kippur, there's a bigger mitzvah to eat on Yom Kippur if your life is in danger. This story, again, I wouldn't repeat. I heard it in Rav Soloveitchik's tape. I have those tapes. In the 1950s, Sarah, you know what a tape recorder looked like? A suitcase. In the early 50s, a tape recorder looked like a suitcase. Imagine lugging that around
Boombox.
into the classroom with those giant reels. And it's so clear. Mindel, it's so clear. 1953. It's marked on the tape. Someone took those big spools and put them on cassettes. And I still have my Walkman from 1986.
Wow.
Sometimes it's good to be a dinosaur.
I'll give you my tape.
Huh? So he says there was a cholera epidemic in Brisk. The Zayder Rab Chaim. His grandfather, great Rab Chaim Soloveitchik. The doctor on Brisk said, listen, there's a cholera epidemic, potentially deadly. If the people fast on Yom Kippur, their resistance will be very low and they will be susceptible to cholera. Doesn't mean they'll get it, but there's a chance they might get cholera if what?
They fast.
They fast. Because the resistance is low. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. This is what the doctor told Rav Chaim Soloveitchik.
Better not to take the chance, right?
So Rav Chaim Soloveitchik said what? You guys have to what? Eat on Yom Kippur. Eat on Yom Kippur. But he knew that what? They'll be from. What did great Chaim Soloveitchik do Yom Kippur morning? What did he do?
He ate.
He made Kiddush. Shoshana, you sitting down? I have the tape, otherwise I won't repeat it. The Zayder Rab Chaim got up and he made Kiddush Yom Kippur morning and he ate. Because otherwise he knew that the Hasidim wouldn't eat. And then there'd be a sakana, a suffix sakana. So afterwards some guys went up to him and said, Rebbe, why are you a makel in Yom Kippur? How dare you desecrate Yom Kippur, great rabbi, making Kiddush in public? Why are you a makel on Yom Kippur? He says, I'm not a makel on Yom Kippur, I'm machmir in Bekuach Nefesh. Daniel, what's more important, Bekuach Nefesh or Yom Kippur? No contest. Bekuach Nefesh. He said, don't call me a makel on Yom Kippur, I'm a machmir. I'm also a big machmir. I tell my wife, machmedus, right? Machmir. She says, I'm a machmir on Bekuach Nefesh. Machmir, right? You're also a machmir.
What's that mean?
Machmir, make me this. Machmir a coffee, machmir a tea, right? I'm also a big machmir, Sarah. Tell my wife to mach. But he says, I'm a machmir on Bekuach Nefesh. Bekuach Nefesh is a much greater mitzvah than what? Than Yom Kippur. But it takes up Chaim Soloveitchik. How do you say breite plates? Oh, you need broad shoulders to do that. To get up Yom Kippur morning, Mindel, to make Kiddush. And to make, because if you wouldn't have done that, nobody would eat. So then there's a chance they might get cholera. And even Suffolk Pekuach Nefesh is Doicha Yom Kippur. not just a vada, even a suffix. If there's a small chance that you might get cholera, then you have to eat on Yom Kippur. It's suffix. Ad kedei kach, how the Torah values human life. And this goes so far. Avram, you were listening to the Kriya yesterday morning? I hope you were listening. The end of Pashas Vayishlach, it's very strange, Sarah. I mean Chava and Sarah. Very strange. They have the whole family tree of Esau. Remember Kunta Kinte, Alex Haley with Roots? I'm dating myself.
Oh, yeah.
You don't remember?
I didn't have a TV.
Oh, you're lucky. 1976, they had the whole series on NBC TV, the Kunta Kinte family tree Roots.
Everybody in America
Oh,
watched.
Everybody in
Alex Haley, come on.
Everybody.
Why should I care, Shalom? Why does the Torah go on and on and on? So many psukim seems to be wasted, chas v'shalom, of giving me the family tree of, not Kunta Kinte, of Esav. These are the children of Esav, these are his grandchildren and great-grandchildren, great-grandchildren. Who cares? The Torah is so economical. There isn't even one extra letter in the Torah. How many letters are in the Torah, Sarah? 304,805 letters. If you don't believe it, you can count. There's exactly 304,805 letters in the Torah. There isn't even one extra letter. Here, there's so many verses giving me the family tree of whom, Abraham? Uncle Esav. Could you care less?
No.
So why? Says the Rambam, Moreh Nevuchim. He says as follows. He says there's a mitzvah in the Torah to eradicate Amalek. To wipe out Amalek.
The grandson.
The Amalekite nation. And when Mashiach comes, that mitzvah will kick in. Listen to this. But Esav had many other grandchildren besides Amalek. So the Mashiach, before he goes to war against Abu Mamzer, he's going to have to study this parsha very, very carefully. Not to harm an innocent grandchild of Esav. Look how the Torah values human life. So the Torah is so economical, an extra letter. Here it writes dozens of extra psukim exactly detailing who is Esav's grandchildren as opposed to Esav's other grandchildren, that Mashiach should not make a mistake and Chalila kill one innocent human being. So it pays for the Torah, Yiddish Chava, to go out of her way to write so many extra verses to make sure that when Mashiach does the final war against evil, it's only the Amalekite line of Esav that'll have to be destroyed, but the other grandchildren of Esav, he had many, are not to be harmed. So you have to know who is who. It's a who's who. Look at the value the Torah puts on human life. That's the greatest value. Because a human being, how do we honor a Kodesh Baruch Hu? How do you honor Daniel? How do you honor God? By honoring a human being. Every human being, non-Jew, Jew, has a Tzelem Elokim. Adam and Chava were not Jewish, right, Chava? You are, but the first Chava wasn't. And yet the Torah said she had a Tzelem Elohim. Right? Every human being has a Tzelem Elohim. How do you say that in English? Image of God. So how do you honor God? By honoring a human being, you honor God. By honoring a human being, you honor God. What? And therefore a dead person is called a halal. Even in modern Hebrew. Halal. The English word halal. Why? Halal. Why is a dead person called a halal? Because he's hollow. The godly soul is no more. Is out. So it's left as a shell. He's hollow inside. The godly soul is gone. Halal, there's an empty space there. And therefore, when a person dies, you say Kaddish for him. Avram, what do you say Kaddish? Doesn't mention anything about death. Yiskadal v'yiskadash shmei Rabbah. May your name, God, be magnified and exalted more and more. Why do you say that for a dead guy? Doesn't mention one word about death in the Kaddish. So the Kabbalists explain what we just said. Every person has a part of God inside of him. When a person dies, there's a tremendous vacuum, halal. that piece of God that lived inside this person is what? Gone. There's a tremendous hollow. There's a vacuum there. God, I'll take up the slack. Yiskadal v'yiskadash shemei Rabbah. It's a nechama for God. Tishbechostra nechamasa. Arba, you know the Kaddish nechama for Hashem? Kaviochel, the Shekhinah suffered a retreat. Why did Shekhinah suffer a retreat? A setback, Kaviochel. Why, Sarah? That part of God that lived on earth is what? No more. That part of God is no more. Beam me up. So there's a halal. There's a vacuum. How do you say hollow space? So Kaddish, we're going to fill that vacuum. We're going to do more mitzvot. Will we double our efforts to bring more Kedusha into the world to make up for that halal? That's a schus for the niftar. That's a schus for the niftar. It's not a prayer for him. It's a nechama, consolation from Kodesh Baruch Hu, that part of God that lived inside this person is gone, and we're going to fill the vacuum or fill the void. So that is a tremendous chus for the niftar, and that's a little bit about what Kaddish is all about.
How do we reconcile the fact that your sources are saying it's black and white, whereas a great local rabbi says it's perfectly permitted?
Well, people can say what they want. So ask him, don't ask me. Right? Quote the Tzitz Eliezer, quote the Igvis Moshe. I'm not joking, send him an email. I give you the sources. Tzitz Eliezer, Igvis Moshe, Yeridea, chapter 129. Radi Yosef, Yabia Omer, Yeridea, chapter 12. All say it's strictly usher to enter a church, even if it does not have any icons there. So who? The three greatest rabbis of the 20th century. Nobody can hold a candle to them, right? You have the Sfardim and the Ashkenazim. Baruch Hashem, we're on the same page here.
Yes.
Baruch Hashem.
Yes, Baruch Hashem.
Thank God we're on the same page, right?
Amen.
Baruch Hashem. Any other questions?
So how can others say it's all right to design and build? Because
I told you, Rav Moshe said that design a building, tashmusha avodah zarah. Not the statue itself. You didn't listen. He says it's mutter to build the building because they don't worship the building. It's usher to build the statue or the bima. But the building itself, you're not worshiping the building. It's only a tashmisha avodah zarah. And Medina, it's mutter. He quotes Rashi, he quotes the Yeridea, the Tur, and the Rambam. They all say that shemuta livnois tashmish. Tashmish, what is that? How do you say in English? That serves the tashmish avodah zarah. And only the altar and the getchkes are also. That's what he says. And he quotes Rashi, Moshe Feinstein. He quotes the Tur, he quotes the Rambam, he quotes Rashi. That's the halacha. Because they don't worship the building. That just houses the avodah zarah. But that's not the avodah zarah itself. So next Sunday is Hanukkah. We have a special shiur at 2 o'clock. And we finish at 3. You have plenty of time to go and light your candles, right?